Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, thank you so much for tuning in. In today's video, we're diving into a classic question in the silver stacking world, and that is, should I be stacking junk silver, government issued coins, or silver rounds? If you're new to stacking or maybe just looking to sharpen your silver stacking strategy, this video is going to help you understand the differences between these three types of silver bullion, and which one might make the most sense for your silver stacking goals. So grab a drink, relax, and let's break it all down. So let's start with some of the definitions of these three types of coins. And the first one is junk silver, also known as constitutional silver. And this one might be one of the most misunderstood types of silver. Junk silver refers to an old US coin minted pre-1965, and that being dimes, quarters, and half dollars. These contain 90% silver. In 1942 through 45, they made 35% nickels because they needed nickel during World War II. And through 1965 through 1970, they made 40% Kennedy half dollars. Despite the name, these coins are not junk at all. They're just collectible for their numismatic value. They're not collectible for their numismatic value. They're valued for their silver content. A 1964 quarter, for example, contains about 0.18 ounces of silver, so you need 6 of those to get an ounce of silver, or $1.40 face value of any form of junk silver. So when the silver prices move, these coins move with it for that reason. Next up is silver coins, and when people say silver coins, they are usually referring to modern government issued or government backed coins like the American Silver Eagle that you see back right here, if this camera will focus, or something like a Great Britain Britannia they see right there. Those are types of government-backed, government-denominated silver bullion. And these have 3/9 fine silver, pure silver, and then produced by national mints, and they carry a face value or legal tender. So for this one, for example, it says on the front, £2 right there. So this, you can spend this as real money, which is, £2 on the Canadian Maple Leaf. It's $5 Canadian. On the American Silver Eagle, it is $1. So these carry face value. That's what makes them government backed. And the next up is silver rounds, and that is something like the Buffalo right here. This is a very popular coin in America, but I believe it's also quite popular in most places around the world just because it's very recognizable. But silver rounds are privately minted silver pieces. Usually these come in 1-ounce coins that look like coins, but they're not legal tender. They don't have a dollar face value behind them, and they may have a patriotic design, images, or fun pop culture themes like Star Wars or other things like that. These coins also happen to be 3/9 fine silver coins, but they're often a lot cheaper and come from mints like Sunshine, Silvertown, or Highland, and like I said, they're not government denominated. So that is what makes them run a bit cheaper than the other things like that. But now that we've defined them, let's compare them based on cost, liquidity, storage, trust, and strategy. Okay, so to start off with, let's talk about the price of these coins, and let's be real, that's where most stackers start and begin. They're worried about the price and how much it will cost to get into it, and junk silver is typically one of the cheapest ways to stack silver, especially if you're buying it in bulk. Premiums are usually quite a bit higher on government coins, and sometimes even lower than rounds, depending on the certain market that we're in. Right now, you might see junk silver selling around 25 to 27 per ounce, depending on spot and availability. However, silver rounds are next. These usually carry a modest premium, maybe $2 to $3 over spot. So if silver is at $30, you might pay $32 or $33, or something around there. They're usually not going to go too far above that, and if you do, go somewhere else because you can get something way cheaper. So always make sure to beware and do your research before buying any coins at that point in time. Next up, and the last place, is the government coins. Like Silver Eagles tend to have the highest premiums, made maybe $4 to $6 or even $8 premium. So if it's $30, it'll be $34 to $38, maybe even 40, like the Mexican Libertad. Those are one of the highest premium coins that there is. So, they do just have quite a bit higher of a premium. So you do have to watch out for that. But why is there a difference in them? And that is the recognition, trust, and minting costs, especially for government minted coins. Government minted coins are just way safer. Most people believe they are. And if silver ever for some reason went all the way down to zero, you still have legal tender that you can spend. If it's worth $5 Canadian, if you're in Canada, you still have $5 if silver's at $2. So you're still winning in that aspect. So that really helps some people make that choice on what to get. But next up, liquidity. How easy is it to sell or trade? And junk silver is actually very liquid. Every coin shop in America knows what it is, how it was made, and the history behind it. You can walk into almost any shop with a roll of quarters or dimes and $50 and walk out with a stack of cash or a check that you have to take to the bank or whatever like that. And because it is smaller in denominations, it's easier to sell in small amounts. Like if you're only want to cash out $100 worth of silver, it's a lot easier to just take in 8 of these than maybe if you have American Eagles, it's going to be a lot harder to get exactly to 100 or, things like that. Whereas with those, you can get pretty much right on the spot and not have to trade in anything extra that you wouldn't want to otherwise. So that makes them, very good, especially in barter situations. They can also be very good if you only need to spend like $5. That's 2 dimes. So they're very useful for, things like that and liquidity. But silver coins are also very liquid. In fact, Eagles and Maple Leafs are probably the most trusted silver in the entire world. Now, I would show you guys what the Maple Leafs look like, but I did unfortunately just have to sell, all my Maple Leafs. So, but I can tell you from experience that it was a very simple process. He could instantly tell just from the security features that the Maple Leafs have that they were real, that they were legit, and it was a very easy and simple process. And if you ever need to sell fast or trade, these are excellent option, especially overseas. Everyone, likes these coins or has these coins, which is a very nice thing. And then next up and last is rounds. These have decent liquidity, especially if they come from recognizable mints like, Sunshine Minting. But if they're from a no-name or novelty brands, it might take longer to sell them, and you may get a lower price just because they're not as wanted or respected maybe. But yeah, so overall, junk silver and coins win when it comes to liquidity and ease of resale. But let's talk about the storage with them, because once your stack starts growing, space matters. And what I think is probably last when it comes to storage is junk silver, because it comes in very small coins. It can get very bulky and heavy very quickly. A full 100 face value bag weighs over 70 ounces of silver, and that takes up a lot of space. Think about a gallon-sized Ziploc bag full of just coins. It'd be very big and very hard to, store or keep secretive and things like that. But it's still relatively easy to stash in ammo cans, safes, anything like that. But next are rounds, and these are compact and usually come in tubes of 20, and which makes them very easy to stack and easy to store. These come with the airtight tubes. You put them in it, put them in your safe. You're very good, very, safe with things like that. Next up, silver coins like Eagles and Maple Leafs also come in tubes, but they take a bit more space in the rounds due to their packaging and often come in mint tubes or monster boxes. Now, they only come in monster boxes if you order, the entire thing, and that's if you have $20,000 to spare, which, most people do not. I think they're just as easy as the rounds. Some store 20, some store, like the Maple Leaf, store 25, but still very easy to do, and, I'd recommend a lot of people do it. But I like regular coins the best. I love my Britannias, my Eagles, my Maple Leafs, so very good. So for the trust and authenticity, Junk silver is basically self-authenticating. These coins have been in circulation for decades, even centuries, some of them, and people know what a 1964 quarter dime half dollar looks and feels like. They just look and feel so much more real and different. So they're very distinguishable. They're hard to fake because you can compare them to any pocket change. Plus, they've aged naturally. They have natural toning and circulation on them. So that makes them easy to identify as, this is probably real. But also, it makes it more fun because you can touch these coins and play with them. Whereas something like the Britannia, you do want to keep it in pretty good condition, which can sometimes ruin the fun of it. So I like junk silver for that reason. But yeah, government coins are also highly trusted. They have built-in security features and carry legal tender status. If someone's worried about fakes, Eagles and Maple Leaf are, very good peace of mind due to the security features. Legal tender, the punishment is way higher if someone does get caught faking them. So people tend to steer clear of things like that. But next up is rounds, and these are way more likely to be faked, especially when buying online or from private sellers. And you have to be a little bit more cautious and stick to trusted mints when doing so. Don't buy off of places like Facebook, Marketplace, or eBay, or other things like that. You are begging to be scammed if you do that. So, steer clear of those types of things. It would be not very good. So, let's break down the strategy and who should buy what. And that is, if you want small denominations of silver for emergencies, bartering, or day-to-day preparedness, junk silver is perfect for you. You can trade a silver dime for a loaf of bread and, things like that. It's trusted, divisible, and very recognizable. If you want long-term security, high trust, and global recognition, government-minted coins are a great choice and a great idea for you. They're also great if you're thinking about passing your silver stack to your kids and grandkids to try and build generational wealth. If you're trying to build your stack fast and cheap, trying to get the most silver and weight for your dollar, silver rounds are a solid middle ground. They're affordable, easy to buy in bulk, and they still carry real silver weight and are just as pure as the other ones. In reality, you don't have to choose just one. Personally, I have a great mix of rounds, government minted, and junk silver, and even bars. So, a good mix is awesome. I would always recommend doing it because you never know what situation you're going to come upon. So, what's the best way to stack your silver? The truth is, there's no one-size-fits-all answer. It all depends on your budget, your goals, and how you plan to use your silver. So, if you want security, go for coins. If you want flexibility, grab some junk silver. Or if you want the most weight for your dollar, rounds may be in your favor. So, let me know down in the comments, what are you stacking the most right now? Junk silver, rounds, coins, or a combo? If this video helped you out, give it a like and consider subscribing if you haven't already for more stacking, gold, and silver content. Thanks for being here.